Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as High Vibe Scorpio. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy. We all have free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And some people are battling within themselves. They might like to move forward in life a little differently than how they've been living life. The bottom row can kind of represent our current life or our comfort zone. And but there can be fear about moving forward in life a little differently. You have to face your fears. Up here, the reason for the top row's reading is the Nine of Pentacles. You have to become independent of kind of an old way of living life or viewing yourself, or the bottom row can kind of represent things that manipulate us. So you'd have to become independent of those things to have more hope and faith and belief in yourself, in love, to move forward in life a little differently. And so some people could be struggling within themselves. Some people aren't struggling within themselves. Some people have picked, I'm doing this, and other people said, nope, I'm doing this. Um, we're all at different stages of life, kind of in our emotional maturity level, and being less manipulated by different things. And some people, we move forward when there's something wrong with the way we are. Something about it probably bothers us, or we wouldn't even think of living life differently. And some people aren't bothered. They're living their life and enjoying their life just like we all have at different times in our life, and they have no need to move forward in life differently. And some other people could have been living their life that exact same way, but there was something about it that kind of just told them, we're kind of ready to move forward in life when we feel we've learned what we needed to learn from the phase of life we were at. And it maybe can become boring, or it feels confining or limiting or restricting. And we know that the only reason we're maybe not moving forward in life differently is because of fear or something like that. So, but another way of looking at it, we all have our dualistic nature. We can align with our more hopeful, believing nature. And then there can be people in our life that we could choose to befriend and be in a relationship with who have more hope and faith and belief and love. But then we also have our more shadowy, more immature, self indulgent, prideful, egotistical, immature, lustful, greedy nature, whatever. And we probably have people in our life that are like, no, you should hang out with us. And, we have the free will to decide what kind of person within ourself we're going to align with, and then that kind of influences what kind of people we hang out with outside of ourselves. So let's go look at the bottom row first. So the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Four of Swords, which can be that represents Libra energies, that represented by the scales of justice. Again, we kind of all go through these stages of life, because we have learning and growing and healing and maturing to do. So when we're at a certain phase of life, is it just and fair for us to be at that phase of life? Yes, because that's how we view life, and that's how we view ourselves, and it's how we view the world. And until something goes wrong, or we see we heal. The Four of Swords talks about healing from past pain and heartbreak. Again, we'll live our life a certain way, have a certain viewpoint, and when we kind of work through what we were meant to work through at that stage of life, we see the truth. The truth sets us free. We become independent of that old way of looking at life, and we move forward to the next phase of life. Which is why I have those nesting dolls over there. We were age 15, we were age 18, we were age 21. It's like we shed an old layer of ourselves because, again, we kind of learned what we needed to learn at that stage of life. And we're kind of also inspired to move to the next phase of life and face our fears. And we realize that if I want to move to that next phase of life, I need to become independent of this old way of living life or viewing life or my self-limiting beliefs, and not kind of indulge that anymore, and put in work and effort to move forward in life at that next phase of life, right? But we've all been there, and some people are still there, and they're all on different levels. And there's people further on the path of life than we are at, right? So we have the Queen of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, the Three of Wands, and a card not showing itself, and the Eight of Pentacles. So we're emotionally invested in something we move forward with. But sometimes we're emotionally investing and moving forward in something. Well, and the Three of Wands can talk about that we have a dream. The nines also talk about closing out a cycle, so when whatever phase of life we go into, it's kind of like going to from junior high to high school and high school to college, or starting at an entry level job and going to another level job, right? Um, we have an end goal. We want a certain dream to come into reality. And we can put in work and effort and move forward in something. But then there can kind of be this blockage. We need one more wand to close out a cycle. There's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And we can kind of be defensive to closing out a cycle. For some, sometimes it can be, well, I don't know if I deserve that. Is that just and fair? If I were to keep pursuing something, what if my dream did come into reality? Then we could maybe, we know we won't be able to indulge. The Nine of Wands can be indulging in more immature behavior. We won't be able to do that anymore. And the difference between the Nine of Wands and the Three of Wands is the Six of Wands, which is Leo energy. You're either inspired to have hope and faith and belief in your dreams, and you keep going, keep believing I deserve to get the justice I deserve, but I have to work through my ego nature and my defensive nature and my prideful nature and my immature nature and wanting to repeat an old pattern. I have to heal. And sometimes that is a big stumbling block. And some people are still stuck over here, and other people are kind of moving through some more of their fears and insecurities or ways of viewing life to move forward in life a little differently. But we're all at different stages of maybe our defensiveness. Some people might want a dream to come into reality, but they can be defensive to being more just and fair. So our shadowy energy is our more immature, kind of more about ourself, or our defensive nature, or fear of being hurt. So some people could want to be in relationships, have jobs, be in friendships or relationships, but they might like to be a little more self-protective or defensive in the relationship. And that could be that they have this way of viewing life and relationships. And it can be where I do want to be more immature, or I do want to be more defensive. I don't want to get out of my ego. I would have to see the truth about something in order to, I'd have to shed a layer of my ego nature or my defensive nature or my immature nature or whatever in order to have that dream come into reality. I could want it. I could think it's just and fair, but they could want to move forward with people not having to let go of anything. I want to keep doing things the way I've been doing it. That would be like a dream come true. I think that's just and fair. And, we can all be in friendships and workplaces or relationships with people, and, we're kind of defensive of maybe speaking the truth, speaking our truth, maybe standing up for ourselves, wanting it to be more just and fair. And we can hope that as time goes by, that other people will kind of get out of their defensive nature or being more immature or more bossy or controlling or more caught up in the world or more caught up in themselves. And so we can keep moving forward with people in these relationships, right? Because we want it to work. We want to get the justice. We want the dream to come into reality. So, sometimes we are moving forward in more mismatched relationships because we're kind of defensive to dealing with the truth of it and maybe getting out of our ego about letting that go. And it would require us to stand up for ourselves and speak our truth. And that's all a process. And so then we can kind of keep moving forward in some things. Some people in our life, it is a more mismatched relationship. Other people in our life, we're kind of more on the same page. And some people in our friendship group or people that we're working with, we all are kind of inspired by this dream and we could be treating each other in a just and fair way. And we're both kind of working through our defensiveness and our immature nature and our ego nature to work together more cooperatively. But then there can always be some other people in the group that, um, everybody could wish they were work together more cooperatively in a just and fair way, or they'd get out of their ego or their defensiveness, right? But we can all move forward for a while, which can be a long time. But then as time goes by, it could become more evident with some of the people that we're in a more mismatched relationship with that we harness this energy differently. And, we could have given people the benefit of the doubt because we tend to think that other people think like we do. Everybody's motivated by love. People are kind of motivated to heal and mature and be more just and fair in a relationship. And so we keep working with people, hoping that they will. But there can come a point in time that we kind of realize that we harness this energy differently. Other people or one person harnesses it a little more high vibrationally, and the other people harness it in a more worldly, shadowy way. Release card. Endings that lead to new beginnings, the need to release situations or people that hold you back, spiritual transformation. I don't use this deck very often. And I thought I already came across a card in here that was the Tower card, but this card, anyway, is kind of reminding me of the Tower card. And you know, it has the two foundations here, and in our free will, we can be operating more from truth and love and hope and faith and belief, or we're kind of more aligned with being about ourselves or the world or fear or insecurity or controlling people or manipulating people. What is our truth of the foundation that we operate from? And the high vibe people are willing to learn lessons in life. In order to, if the truth sets us free, we have to be willing to acknowledge the truth that maybe there was a way we were moving forward that wasn't just and fair for us at one point to view life that way. Yes. But as time goes by, it can also be that in their fire sign energy, this is Sagittarius and Aries, and the Queen of Pentacles can represent our philosophy of life. At every stage of life, we have a philosophy of life. We move forward in it. We're excited about it. We think our dreams are going to come into reality, moving forward that way. But high vibe people are willing to, if they see that something is unstable or ungrounded, because the tower can represent that we're trying to build a solid, stable foundation. And after that, we have the Eight of Pentacles in Virgo energy about putting in work and effort to look to the future, to heal and grow and mature yourself, to get justice, to feel at peace within yourself, to feel balance within yourself. We all have our dualistic nature, and we have to kind of maintain balance to not kind of be more tipped out of balance. And what truth is the guiding principle that makes us feel balanced? High vibe people think it's, I'm going to offer truth and love to it. And I'm going to listen to my intuition, and I'm going to put in work and effort to maintain balance within myself, to not let my more worldly nature, egoic nature, immature nature, more about myself nature, more about these things of the world manipulate me. I'm inspired to not let go of my truth. And my truth is, I am inspired to keep growing and healing and maturing myself. And maybe being enlightened to the truth, that just deal with the truth. When I see something is manipulating me within myself or outside myself, I am motivated and inspired to deal and get to the truth of it. Because if I'm moving forward in something that doesn't seem to be aligned with my truth, it makes me kind of feel out of balance. And I could keep moving forward in it because I enjoy it. I had a certain way of looking at life, viewing life, things I like to indulge in or whatever, or people I'm drawn and attracted to, or that I love. But high vibe people are willing to deal with the truth that, that maybe if I keep moving forward on this path of life, or however I'm living it, in a lot of ways, by worldly standards and by, my own things of the world, because the pentacles can talk about these things of the world that we want. There's a lot of things about it that we like, and by worldly standards, it would seem just and fair. And it kind of has a lot of those things of the world and that we wanted. But with some of the people in our life, we'd have to maybe stay in it more out of our defensiveness, more because of the world, because we're more motivated by these things of the world and we want these certain things, but it's not our truth. It's not, again, being in kind of more mismatched relationships, that your truth is love, their truth could be more of staying in it for these other reasons. And everybody's got their truth of what they think is just and fair and what they stand up and defend. We both could have different ideas of how we expect this dream to come into reality based on kind of what our long-term goals are and what our truth is and what drives and motivates us. And with some of the people, we realize the foundation we operate from is different, and they could realize also that the foundation we operate from is different. And it can get to that point in a relationship where both people or different groups kind of people realize that, oh, how what you think is just and fair and what you want to put work and effort into is kind of different than what I think is just and fair and what I want to put work and effort into. And both people could want to let go of the relationship at some point in time because, you know, can we get in friendships and relationships and jobs, and we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. Some of the people we could have gotten in friendships and relationships with, some people, the Queen of Pentacles is the only married to the deck. Some people you thought it was someone you were going to marry. For other people, it was someone you did marry. But the Queen of Pentacles can also represent people in our family, people in our friendship group. Um, we kind of have a lot of things in the world that we could have similar ideas, things we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into, things we're motivated and inspired by. And so we're hanging out with those people and investing in those people and going on this adventure and kind of thinking our dreams are going to come into reality. But then at some point in time, we could realize that why the driving factor for why we want to be in it is maybe different, where one person's truth and long-term goal is, I'm kind of more about, being in a relationship, move forward in a relationship, enjoy a relationship. It looks good. It's good for my ego and image. Looks like my dreams have come into reality. I have someone to work with. We get along. But they could just be someone who likes to maybe live more from their mind than their heart. And it's not really about being independent from their defensive nature to be independent of it, to be more authentic and loving. And so seeing that the foundation that they want to operate from is different. And when cards are in reverse, it can mean extreme. So sometimes you're moving forward with people and maybe they do have a lot of healing to do in their foundation of themselves, and they could be very kind of unstable or very kind of immature or very defensive or very much the Three of Wands, Aries energy. Some people are just really more about themselves. Anybody can harness that energy in their Aries energy of themselves. Some people have a lot of healing to do, but they can reject, like, I don't think so. I don't think I need to heal. I don't think the tower is trying to illuminate the truth to us when a way that we're living life or viewing life, that if we keep moving on that path, we were meant to kind of work through some issues of our pride, our ego, help get more clear about what our truth is, what our truth isn't, and see what we need to detach from and what things need to be let go of. And some people, they don't want to let go of anything. And so they want to keep moving forward and have this way of viewing life that they think is just and fair. But it's kind of, which is fine. They just need to find someone else who wants to live their life like that. But they may never want to. I don't want to look at the building blocks in my life. I don't want to see what are the things that aren't conducive to being more independent. And they don't have to. But if they're more motivated and inspired and more defensive of defending their more worldly view of life or living more from their mind than their heart, they could have no interest. This is my dream life. This is how I want to live my life. This is what makes me comfortable. Um, I don't want to become independent of my immature nature or my self protective nature or my worldly view of life. This is how I view life. This is what I think is just and fair. And they don't have to. But other people who get in a relationship with them and realize that the bottom row of shadow can represent nothing's going to change here. Love gives birth to new things. We have free will as human beings. If you were to compare a human being to an apple tree, this could be people that it's like, um, I have free will. I have grown by worldly standards. I look like I have justice in the world. I'm good. It's like being an apple tree that grew to 15 feet tall and makes 100 apples. It looks very abundant and enough for them. Why grow more? But an apple tree doesn't have free will, so an apple tree maybe has to grow to 35 feet and make like 1,000 apples. But as a human being, we have free will to say, I'm good. And I don't even get why I'd want to put in that other work and effort. If the world says I look victorious, maybe and successful, and I look like I got it going on, what else is there? And other people could just be more inspired to, I don't think that's the end all be all goal. To look like I have justice in the world, to be be in a job, be in a friendship, be in a relationship that, that, the thing is, we're a creative, inspired human being who also, we're emotionally complex human beings. And down here, we have no cups. So it's being more inspired by their worldly nature and from their mind. And um, some people, you know, can view sex as love, you know, and they let go, but they didn't maybe let people know. I chose not to align with my more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. I want to be in relationships. I enjoy being in relationships. I have sex with people in relationships. I want to work together with other people in relationship to get these things of the world that I think are just and fair. But oh, by the way, I became independent of my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and I decided it was just and fair to align with my more worldly, egoic, inspired by that nature. And I maybe don't even like to connect in with my emotions. And some other people got in relationships with people like that, and they became independent of them because they saw that they kind of operate from a different foundation than they do, and they weren't willing to give up being in more loving, nurturing, deep, meaningful relationships for these things of the world, and other people are. So let's go look at the top row. We start out with the ego card. The masculine cards can represent us being more aligned with our worldly egoic nature, and then the feminine figures can be about um, our more emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired nature. And we have to get balance within ourselves, but we have to be inspired to want to be balanced within ourselves. So in this one, uh, whether we're male or female, we take action in the world, and when we take action in the world is considered masculine energy. And some people emotionally put in work and effort to stand up for themselves because they have a dream and they wanted justice, and they weren't willing to live more from their egoic nature. They wanted to free their more emotionally intuitive nature to be a balance of both. That is also the Nine of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles is Virgo energy. And up here we have the Knight of Pentacles, which is also Virgo energy, also represented by the Ten of Pentacles. And high vibe energy of balance is that it's a mix of both. I have both these natures within me. I do have these things of the world that I'm motivated and inspired by, and I live in the world. So, needless, I want stability and security. I would like to enjoy some of the finer things in life. But I also want to be my authentic self, my creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. I believe in love. I want to be in relationships based on love. And so it's maintaining this balance within myself. And that means I have to stand up for myself and stand up for my more loving nature. And then it's letting your more loving nature be the one that's kind of in the driver's seat of your life versus letting your more worldly egoic nature kind of be in the driver's seat of your life. And then you offer love and encouragement to your fearful and immature and worldly nature to be offer love and encouragement, like we're going to go about this in a balanced way. And our shadow nature, of course, wants to be in the driver's seat, and our shadow nature is kind of defensive to that dream because our shadow nature has its own idea of what's just and fair. But our own shadow nature, the big picture represented by the devil, just wants to go experience all these things that are kind of about, you know it's like these energies exist in the world and we have free will. What thoughts, emotions, feelings, and everything we're going to embody, and then those live life kind of through us. And our shadow nature wants us to be selfish and greedy and prideful and egotistical and defensive and all about ourselves and let's go live life and tell us it's just and fair. But our shadow nature doesn't care if we end up completely destabilized and lying in the gutter. It's going to lick its fingers and say, damn, that was great. So if we don't stand up and defend our dreams from our more worldly egoic nature that think it's just and fair to be more about ourselves and be more immature and be more prideful and egotistical. And then there's people in our life who want us to be in that energy because they're in that energy. And then we move forward in a relationship with them and that would work for them. And they think we should be happy with it. And it's like, I have a dream and my dream is different than your dream. And I'm not willing to give up wanting to be in the Six of Cups, more deep, meaningful relationships. And I have my inner child nature that has hope and faith and belief and love. And somewhere along the way, some other people, they're either just not there yet and they're still more about indulging themselves in the world. And for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're all pretty caught up in indulging ourselves in these things of the world. But there can come a time where other people can kind of find it a little, was that great? And was that phase of life great? But are we ever going to give birth to anything new and make it, listen to our creative, inspired nature, or for the relationship to grow and mature over time and have a more deep, meaningful relationship? And the other people are like, well, why? This is good. We should just keep doing this. It's like, but it's not growing and maturing over time. We might have put in a lot of work and effort. We might have a lot of things of the world. We might have a lot of stability or security or indulging in things or whatever it is of how we've lived life. But during the course of a friendship or relationship or something, some other people could have worked through some of their defensiveness and gotten out of their ego about some things that probably made them live life the way they lived it, feel about themselves the way they felt about themselves, view the world the way they viewed the world. Because that's what can happen when we get in friendships and relationships with people. Some people are kind of motivated and inspired in high vibe Virgo energy and high vibe fire sign and high vibe Libra and high vibe Taurus that, I do have these things that kind of manipulate me, that make me defensive. And I don't like having those things. And so they do get kind of inspired to put in work and effort that I want to work through those things because I don't like feeling defensive or I don't like how I'm immature or stubborn or whatever it is, or the kind of friendships or relationships I'm in. And so then they do this work to kind of free themselves. Then they offer love and encouragement to the people in their life to move forward with them in this way. And then some of those people can be defensive because, like, well, that takes work and effort. And I'd have to maybe work through things that make me defensive or why I am more about myself or the world or my ego or indulgence or. And some people, we're all ready to deal with the truth. High vibe Virgo is about dealing with the truth. Libra and high vibes about dealing with the truth. Seeing the truth that, you know, the Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords can be where we do kind of have this conflict between our mind and our heart, and we do have this dualistic nature. And just even to see the truth that one aspect of myself or the other is kind of in the driver's seat of my life. And acknowledging that and that seeing the truth of it. But some people don't want to see the truth of it. They don't want to see the truth that maybe they do defend their more worldly, egoic view of life or immature, whatever. Other people do kind of see the truth that, I am not meant to have to keep going back and forth or flip-flopping. I'm meant to master my thoughts, master my emotions. I'm not meant to be a slave to my thoughts or my emotions. I'm not to let my more lustful, greedy, prideful, self-centered, focused nature run my life. I am, it's a thing about learning these lessons. Virgo's about learning lessons. High vibe Sagittarius is about learning lessons, wrapping your brain around this game of life. There are rules to this game of life, and there are lessons to be learned. If we want to kind of feel like we've mastered ourselves versus being imprisoned and enslaved by all these things that manipulate us and our mind and our fear and our lust and our greed and our immature nature, to feel proud of ourselves that I kind of took control in my life not to let those things have so much precedence. And then it's about, do I want some of these things in the world? Sure, like everyone else I do. But learning that if I kind of plant bad seeds, I'm probably not going to reap the harvest that I want. And so I have to learn that if I want to be more stubborn or immature or more about myself, there's probably going to be other people who don't want to be in a relationship with me. And everybody could kind of learn that. The difference is that some people really saw the truth of it and did the work within themselves to get balance within themselves and did get more balanced. In the Six of Cups, the six can talk about balance. I do have my more worldly egoic nature and I have my more creative inspired nature, and they're both important. And I do want to work together with both. And I'm going to offer love to myself to deal with the truth that I need to become independent, where I don't want to repeat some of those patterns. And I have outgrown some of those ways of being. And I have no interest in going back to that old way of living life or viewing life, because that's not my truth anymore. I was 15, I was 18, I was 21, I was 25, whatever. I had these ways of viewing life. I have no interest in going back and repeating that pattern. That's what some people did. Other people realized that, oh, if I don't quit being more shadowy or immature or stubborn or prideful, people won't want to work with me. And they came up with an idea. I'm just going to wear a false mask. I'm going to hide that beneath the surface, and I'm going to present myself as a more emotionally mature, stable, grounded person. But they never really dealt with these things. It's just like, well, no, I really want to do this. This is the truth of still of who I am. But I just have the idea in order to get what I want that I have to present myself in the world differently. And then people get in relationships with them, and they get in relationships with people who really have freed themselves from their more immature, bossy, controlling, whatever. And some of the shadowy people just think, well, that's what everyone else is doing. They kind of they missed a step. Because Virgo energy talks about doing this inner work within our own foundation of self. And we don't see that other people did that work. We see people moving around in the world, acting this way, looking what way. But some of those people, they never really did the work within themselves. They're still more, go back and forth, or really are more about themselves or indulgence or immaturity or whatever. They just wear a false mask and they think that's what everyone else is doing in the world, but not everyone else in the world is doing that. And that's what they don't get. What? Those people really kind of did some work within themselves. They don't they're not still just more about themselves and these things of the world, or being defensive or immature. I thought everybody was still in that energy. I just thought people wore better masks. It's like, no, those people really did do the work and they freed themselves and they did get more balance within themselves. And some people don't get it. So, but up here, when people kind of freed themselves and they saw if they were in some type of relationship dynamic, that they had a dream and they saw other people were defensive to that dream, operating from truth and love, being just and fair, putting in work and effort. Because some people think, well, no, I'm kind of supposed to be the privileged, indulged person, male or female, and you're supposed to put in the work and effort to make this inspiring and loving and just and fair, and I just kind of get to indulge in it. And some people realize my dream isn't going to come into reality here, and I'm willing to get out of my ego and see the truth of it. They have their truth and how they want to live their life and what's important to them and what they think is just and fair. Hey, maybe been there and done that. That's not my truth. And I've offered probably truth and love to work together with you, to move forward together. And if you were defensive to that dream, well, then you're defending your dream and how you want to live your life. And, we operate from a different foundation. So I wish you peace and love, and I'm going to work with people who I think are more aligned with my truth, and you're going to go work with people who you think are more aligned with your truth. And as people moved forward in life, the high vibe people got out of their ego about it and they offered love to it, because love is the answer to free yourself. Out of love, everybody has the free will to live their life whatever way they want. And I'm not going to be in my ego about it that we weren't on the same page. But they knew there was a reason why they were drawn and attracted to these people. And if I don't want to repeat that same pattern, I need to figure out what within me was it that made me drawn and attracted to get in a relationship with them, stay in the relationship for as long as I did. What truth wasn't I wanting to see the truth of? Because there's always going to be people like that in the world, and I could be drawn and attracted to them, people like that again. And if I've already been there, done that, and I know that doesn't work, our truth is different, I need to work on these issues within myself where I harness them in a more worldly, shadowy way and start harnessing them in a more high vibrational way, because then I'm not kind of more in alignment. Again, we can have all these people in the world that we could be in relationship with, and there's something about, and maybe from our past, our own defensiveness, our more worldly nature. So we have to work through it. Let's go see what they are. And you knew, when you worked through this, that meant you had to be willing to also when you cut out those ways of being within yourself, you're going to be cutting those people out of your life because that's not your truth. The star in reverse and the strength in reverse. So the star, kind of like the Three of Wands and Aries energy, is that I had a dream. I had a way of looking at life and viewing life that I defended and was motivated and inspired by, that I thought was just and fair. But the thing is, it could have been a little bit more out of my worldly egoic nature. Because again, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, there's these things that we want to either go indulge in, make our life about. It can be, I want to get in a relationship, I want to be married, I want to have a job. This is what I view and the world tells me. If I make my life about these things, I'll be happy. But, we also have lessons learned about listening to our own intuition. And sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition because we really wanted those things and maybe weren't willing to see the truth that maybe with some of the people we were in more mismatched situations. But we can all not want to see the truth and hope for the best. And if I put in work and effort, and we can also, you know, just like we can get in relationships with people who we kind of know, you seem more whatever. They also can look at us and say, you seem more whatever. And we can see that we're kind of like, yeah, I kind of think we're a little bit like oil and water, but we do want these things. And we can all put in work and effort hoping it will work out. But we had these lessons to learn that if at a core foundational level, we kind of are motivated and inspired by different things, eventually that's going to be a problem. Now, in the midst of that life experience, can we learn lots of life lessons and learn things from each other and look at things differently? Because again, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about our truth. We wouldn't have kept hanging out with some people if, you know, we could have all had some type of level of immaturity or defensiveness and or believing in ourselves or believing in our dreams, and together, working together, maybe we helped each other work through some of that and we were able to shed some of those things. And then maybe we could have all gotten to the place where we felt less unstable. And but then, it's kind of like, um, we can get in friendships and relationships with people. We can be helpful and help each other through some things in our life that we could have in common. But then once we do maybe feel more stable and grounded within ourselves, then we're kind of ready to take action on our truth and kind of seeing that, well, that was kind of great. But ultimately, our truth of how we want to move forward is different. So, harnessing the star and the strength in a more upside down position, again, we maybe weren't really looking at life from a higher perspective because we didn't have that perspective. We really had lessons to learn, again, from the 9 to the 3 is the 6 of Wands, which is Leo energy, which is the strength card. We had our own fears, our own insecurities, our own self-limiting beliefs, our immature nature, our prideful nature. We hadn't learned to temper our ego, but depending on the different types of relationships that we were in and what, some of them required us to stand up for ourselves, which maybe before we weren't standing up for ourselves. Um, Maybe it forced us to have to really get clear about what our truth was and the dreams that we had for our life and see the truth that some of the people we were in relationship with, our dream wasn't going to come into reality there. And sometimes there's people in our life, friends or family or parents and something that we could have looked up to and admired them. And some people could have thought, because I think those people went about things in a certain way that I maybe could have thought was victorious or successful or some way in some way, that I'm just going to do what they did. And then it's kind of not like them shining their authentic light and living their authentic life. Because the Queen of Pentacles, I've used Taurus energy, and in shadow, it can be like kind of following this template. And it can also be more about conforming to the world. I'm not going to live my more authentic life. You know, I'm going to make my life more about conforming to the world. That has been my dream. That's what I'm going to put work and effort into. I don't want to detach from making my life more about conforming to the world. And if that makes them feel stable and grounded within themselves and balanced within themselves, that's where they're at. And other people could have been in friendship or relationship with them, and it's like for a long time it could have seemed okay, but then it's like, so we're never going to step out of our comfort zone or ever live our more authentic life and give birth to our own thing. Which if we're going to step out of our comfort zone, we kind of do have to let love and intuition guide us and, invest in our truth, be more independent to give birth to our own unique thing. And some people are like, oh, nope, I'm afraid of that. That would mean, I would have to be inspired to put in work and effort to create like my own justice. And I might have to work through all these issues and be more independent from the world and independent from other people and live my authentic life. And some people are like, no, I want to repeat this old pattern. That's my idea of the dream life, and I'm going to go find someone who wants to do that. And if some of those people are in relationships with people who seem like that's their truth too, well, they'll probably move forward with those people because they have no interest in making their, it can just be about making their life more about the world, more about the ego and image, repeating some pattern, not being more independent in the world. And then that would be a just and fair relationship. But some other people are like, you're either truly in the star and the strength, balanced, and have hope and faith and belief that there's more to this world and things more important than just being about ourself and the ego and the image and the status and the whatever. And you've let go of being more aligned with that in a more worldly, shadowy way and willing to let those things go, and had to let go of an old dream and had to get out of your ego about it. And you had to offer love to it. The Six of Cups can be about reconciling yourself, coming to a place of peace about the past. And again, everyone has their truth. And in all, with the, let's see, Page of Cups, in all three of your emotional water sign energy of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, your truth is, do you want some of these things in the world? Yes. Is that the foundational truth of your life? No. It's truth, love, justice, fairness. It's about having a balance, being more independent of your more worldly nature, and then willing to learn lessons in life, get out of your ego, communicate with people in your life. I had some lessons to learn because we had free will choice at one point in time when we could have chosen this job, friendship, or relationship. There was other people that we didn't get in friendship or relationship with. And you could communicate with some of those people that, sorry, I know we had an opportunity to work more on a friendship or relationship, or I got out of a friendship or relationship. you know you get out of your defensiveness that, I was maybe more immature, I had some growing up to do. I was more inspired by these things of the world that I wanted to manifest. And um you know the Page of Cups can be apologizing, but it can also be reaching out to people and, in High Vibe Knight of Pentacles, telling them your truth and, about the lessons that you've learned and that you have grown and healed and matured yourself. And then it's up to those people to decide um, if you're anybody they want to reconnect with, or work with or not, and where they're at in their life. And it's like letting people just have their free will. In the meantime, you're moving forward, investing in yourself, becoming independent of the past, knowing you don't want to repeat this pattern. The Page of Cups can be getting to know people. It's just small, friendly gestures like we do out in the world to get to know people, see who wants to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, see who's more independent, see who seems more motivated and inspired by truth and love, and who's more motivated by the world, and invest more of your time, energy, and effort into the people who you think are more independent of their worldly egoic nature. And as you're moving forward in that way, other people in the world are going through this. As you're moving forward, you might meet someone, two people who can be friends if you're not in a relationship, that you get in a relationship with, that have gone through similar experiences as you. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy that they might not see coming? The Devil, the Knight of Wands, the High Priestess, the Two of Cups, the Ten of Wands. Why? Because of the Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Wands can be, it is also Sagittarius energy, like the Nine of Wands. So from a stage of life that you were at, you've grown and matured yourself. And it also can be, the Knights can be where we're fighting for what we believe in. And I think you're standing up to your own shadow nature, because it starts within you first. Communicating, that wands are about communication, communicating to your own shadow nature that you're looking to the future and listening to your intuition and aligning with love, kind of offering love and encouragement to your fears and your insecurities and your self-limiting beliefs to move forward with you. But you're moving forward and you're closing out a cycle, because we have the Ten of Wands there. We're done repeating that pattern. And if there's a part of our shadow nature that's like, no, let's not close out this old cycle, let's go back and do this, that's scary. No, we're going to keep offering love to it and listening to our intuition and wrapping our brain around this game of life. And that cycle with people who act or think or behave or whatever like that, that's not going to work. So we need to keep moving forward, and who knows what will happen in the future. But for now, we're not going to go back and repeat that pattern, and we're not going to keep carrying this burden. We're going to offer love to it so we can let it go and let everyone else make their free will decisions and live their life, and kind of going with the flow of the universe. People are doing what they're doing, and part of you could realize that some people are harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way. They, from the 1 to the 10, you've maybe learned some lessons in life, and they still haven't learned that it's maybe more about love. And they still are more self-indulgent in things of the world. And you accept the truth of it. Get out of your ego about it. I accept people are where they're at. And I move forward. And I think as you move forward, harnessing high vibe, high priestess energy means that you're taking action in the world in more Hierophant energy, kind of walking the talk out of love, investing in looking to the future, being inspired, knowing your worth and value, knowing who to be independent of and stay independent of. And I think other people know you could take action out of more immature, lustful, greedy, prideful action, and you're not. In the Nine of Pentacles, you're going to feel very stable and grounded and balanced and abundant within yourself. And other people know you could act more immature and you're not. And other people could be looking at you. Some of those people are wondering, could I tempt them more with these things of the world to repeat an old pattern? And if those people approach you, you will listen to your intuition about them. And when your intuition tells you, yep, they're more offering, they harness this energy in a more shadowy way. They want to repeat patterns of the past, offering you more things of the world. And you're going to wish them peace and love. And it's like, sorry, I've already been there and done that. And I'm moving forward. And other people could know that you're not willing to repeat that old pattern. And that if they want to be in a relationship with you, they're going to have to reconcile themselves with issues from their past that made them think it was just and fair to think they can be in a relationship with someone who does love, and they keep being defensive to love or being it having to be more about them. And they see the truth. And all of them, the devil can be people that you're attracted to. And you'll get to know the different people to see who seems to be more motivated and inspired by truth and love and who are the people who aren't. And the people who are motivated by truth and love and are more independent of their egoic or immature or more about themselves nature are people you'll move forward with and have these new beginnings with in the Knight of Wands new beginning and the Knight of Cups new beginning. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy? What do they not see coming? The Ten of Swords, the King of Swords, the King of Cups, the Ten of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles, and the reason is because of the Two of Wands. So, the masculine cards can represent how people are presenting themselves, whether they're male or female, but in shadow, it can be that they're operating more from their more worldly, egoic nature. And some of these people, they might not believe in love, harnessing this in a high vibe way. They might not believe in putting in work and effort to learn lessons in life because then they can just be more about themselves and they aren't more about themselves. And their idea is, I think I can just wear this false mask and present myself as being inspired by love, you know, and get people to be in a long-term relationship with me, but more of what they offer is things of the world. But it doesn't mean they can be very kind of loving and encouraging and supportive and treat people, like when we are out in public and when we're out and when I'm around you, I act like a loving person. And I might have these things of the world. I might have status or image or attractive or charming or social cloud or something. I have these things of the world that people want, and I will give you some of those. You can enjoy these things with me or be in a relationship with me. Some of them are full of themselves. But they could have people in their life, at any given time, the people who are more defensive and think that's just unfair or more immature or want to hide behind their egoic nature and their false mask don't really authentically want to do love or do a deep meaningful relationship. They're always going to have other people in their life who are a little more high vibe, and eventually some of the people in their life who've been wanting this to move forward, and they all could have gotten in relationships because some other relationship didn't work out. And then we meet other people and we're like, oh my gosh, we're like on the same page and we're going to have this new beginning. But one friend, family, or workplace is trying to move it forward, being more motivated and inspired by justice and fairness and truth and love. And the other people, not so much. And the high vibe people feel kind of backstabbed in the relationship. You know, you presented yourself as someone who is motivated and inspired to have this new beginning, But that just seems like a dream, to go from the Two of Wands to bring a dream into reality, we'd have to do the Three of Wands. And some people here are defensive to the Three of Wands. I want to be in it. I want to keep maybe moving forward in it. But I really don't want to take that action to really bring that dream into reality because I'd have to get out of my ego or my defensive nature or my lazy nature or my entitled nature or really authentically be in it and not just create the illusion I'm in it. And some of the high vibe people in their life, some of them haven't wanted to see the truth. In high vibe, the pentacle is seeing the truth. It's supposed to be about love. Love is to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. You're supposed to believe in yourself. You're supposed to go through phases of life and then kind of see what needs to go and what needs to stay and not let your fear and your ego and your defensiveness stop you from continuing to grow and mature yourself. But some people are like, no, I'm doing this. You come back here and do the relationship like this. And they're always going to have some people in their life who've been working with them, but those people did this work within themselves. And they want a more just, fair, balanced, truthful, authentic, loving relationship. And the other people are like, nope, I'm not doing that. And they're going to have some people in their life that see the truth of it, see the truth they hadn't wanted to see. I need to get out of my ego. I wanted this to work. But both people have to be inspired to want this to work. And both people, if you're motivated and inspired from love, have to be motivated and inspired by love. And that doesn't seem to be their truth. And maybe I had been wearing a false mask. Maybe I was not being more authentically myself. Maybe I hadn't healed. But during the course of it, I could have. And then it is willing to reveal the truth. And that's why some people aren't going to move forward. I don't want to reveal the truth. Maybe I was kind of stubborn. Maybe I did backstab people. Maybe I was more immature. Maybe I was more bossy and controlling. Maybe I was caught up in these things of the world. And some people are like, oh, I'm not going to admit it. Well, as long as they're not willing to reveal the truth, then they're going to have to keep probably not actually investing in things they really would like to invest in because they're not willing to live their more authentic life or reveal the truth, get out of their ego, do love. Their mind manipulates them, their other people in their life could manipulate them, the world manipulates them, friends or family could manipulate them, ego and image, whatever. Well, they're going to have some high vibe people that are going to leave their life, friends or family, because they see they have their way of viewing life, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to quit trying to change them. You can do your life, and I'm going to go enjoy my life, and you do your life, and it'll all, play out. And some people are going to have to learn some lessons the hard way, just like some other people have. And ultimately, if people keep staying more defensive, more about themselves, maybe full of themselves, they're aligned with their more shadowy, egoic nature. And their shadowy, egoic nature doesn't have their best interest at heart. And ultimately, some of the people and people they could be aligning with right now, and some of the people they will align with in the future, could all be these people who live more from their mind than their heart, wear these false masks that, oh, we love you and oh, we have your best interest. But they really don't want them to go live the life of their dreams because those people don't. Well, I don't want you to listen to your intuition and heal and free yourself to go live the life of your dreams because I didn't do that. And I'm kind of living my life like this and defending this. And, you know, it would bother me if you went and lived the life of your dreams, because then I'd wonder why I don't live the life of my dreams. So it's kind of like equally manipulating each other to stay in denial of the truth. But again, you know, the people who are in a relationship with them could be in the relationship for their own self-serving reasons of how it benefits them. I feel powerful and controlling. You're my friend or you're my sibling. And because you love me and because you're kind of defensive to loving and believing in yourself and listening to your intuition, I stop you from living the life of your dreams because I didn't do that. And I don't want you to go live the life of your dreams if I didn't. And because you trust me and believe in me, you keep deferring to me. Just like, oh, I was kind of thinking this was both the King of Cups, but this is the King of Swords and the King of Cups. And the King of Swords can be like our self defensive nature. You can't go out there, you could get hurt. We're not going to tell the truth. We're not going to do love. We're not going to be motivated and inspired to learn and grow and learn lessons. We get hurt out there, or we don't have any lessons to learn. How dare those people think we had lessons to learn? No, they had lessons to learn. It would be just and fair for anybody to be in a relationship with us. Screw those people. Let them go. There'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with us. Let go of one dream. Maybe thinking loving people are a dime a dozen. And they'll go repeat this pattern with someone else. And if some of those people get in a relationship with them, they look like they're these just, fair, loving, stable, grounded family people. They're not prideful. They're not egotistical. They're not more materialistic or bossy or controlling or more about themselves until they move forward in the relationship more and more. And then they realize, huh, you kind of have this way of living life and viewing life. Nothing's ever going to change, right? It's not like I have my dreams and aspirations and you have your dreams and aspirations and together we're going to give birth to something new. That's not going to happen, right? You have your way of viewing it and that's the way we're going to do it, right? And then some of those people are like, yeah, my dream can't come into reality here. And they're going to leave. But the people who might stay might be people who is like, hey, this looks just and fair to me. This has got stability, security, status, image. I'm okay with that. And they're really in it for how it benefits them. But if you're not in a relationship more because of love, well, it's just based on, you know, what works for you and what seems just and fair. But if someone else comes along where I could be more indulged or they have more money, status, ego, image, they're more fearful, I can manipulate them. I can be more bossy and controlling with them or whatever. Hell, I'll go get in a relationship with that other person. Because it's a foundation built on shifting sand. They're not building a solid foundation. But they have yet to learn that lesson. And some of those people, it's like, I don't care so long as I get someone to get in a relationship with me, male or female, where it's just kind of more about me. I'll indulge in it for as long as it's more about me. When people want to leave, they can leave. And I keep thinking, you know, I don't know, they just might not find people who really, and they might not think they want a long term relationship. But it also can get to be where people in their area or community, because they've seen them repeat this pattern over and over, people don't view them the way they used to view them. They create this illusion, your dream will come into reality with me. But then they get in the relationship, but then they're defensive to really bringing that dream into reality. And other people see you don't really bring the dream into reality. And some other people could be like, nope, no, I've seen the people who do seem to put in work and effort from love, and I've seen the people who don't, and I'm going to go work with the people who do. And then some of these people who thought, well, because I look this certain way, or I act this certain way, or dress this certain way, or have this social clout or image or status, why are people aligning with those people? They don't, they, you know, maybe don't have all these things that I have. No, but those people offer people truth and love and encouragement to love and believe in themselves and to listen to their intuition. And these people basically don't want those people to do that, because then those people would heal and they'd want them to heal. And people can heal and grow and mature themselves with loving people. Devil just tempts us with things of the world, but the devil doesn't want us to heal. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.